Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vibing with Sleezy, the podcast. This is season 3. And yes, this is another two-parter. Yes, a two-parter. And this will be episode 20 and 21. So I will be doing this as the finale for Vibing with Sleazy, the podcast, season 3. I want to thank everybody for listening and downloading. We've had tons of great feedback on my international episodes for this season. Dee Dee Taylor from 502 Hemp made on. So it's always cool to talk to the Cannabis Queen. And then everything else has been going really well through the podcast. So I'm really excited for season 4, and we'll be coming back in the spring for that. So today I have one of the biggest guests this show's ever seen. He's one of the most influential people that I've ever met in Louisville, one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my entire life. And it is a very big honor for me to have him and just even get his time. So I can't thank him enough. But my special guest is Antonio Pantoja. How are you doing?
Oh, man, if I was doing any better, I'd be you. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Honestly, man, like that was sincerely beautiful of you, and I really, really appreciate it, man, because I'm never going to live up to what you said.
Oh no, dude! You literally you've impacted me since day one that I met you. You know, I met you through we'll start off that kind of how we met. We met through friends. You did a bunch of photography for a lot of my friends' weddings that got married kind of their early 20s. So I always would remember you, and we chit chat and shoot the shit, and you'd be like, "Let's pose like that, do all this stuff." So the wedding, I was already ready. You know, used to you doing the photos, and then we ended up meeting when I worked at Leo and The Voice, and then we started going to events. We've got coffee. We've talked. I mean, you and I have it. Just we're very busy, man. We don't see each other that much, but at the end of the day, it's like we can always pick right back up. And you're about as solid as it gets, dude.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, I always tell you I love you, all the time because I really do, man. You've helped me through some really difficult times, man. When I didn't have anybody, to talk to, you were always there, and that's just the kind of guy you are, man. And I remember we had went to what was that place we went to for sushi, Kailana, and you had some of the best stories I had ever heard in my entire life. And
Yeah.
I was like, bro, you need to write a book. I remember I told you back then. So it's awesome that you have a podcast now that you can tell some of those stories.
Yeah, thanks, brother. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I remember that. And yeah, people always tell me that I'm full of stories. So this podcast has been a great outlet for me, been able to not only express stuff and stories, but hear other people's stories. And there's a lot of people I've had on that I felt super close with, like outside the podcast, and they're telling me stories. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I had no idea that you dealt with that or you met this person. So it's always fun on this podcast to not only be able to express yourself, but it's like you're learning about the other person all day.
Absolutely, man. That's incredible, man. I can't wait to listen to all of the episodes because I'm kind of like a podcast lurker. I listen to anybody and everybody all the time because I live in Shelbyville now, man, and it's like 40 minutes away. It's a long commute. So
Yeah.
so right now I'm listening to like an audio book, but
Yeah.
now I'm gonna throw in your podcast, listen to it front to back, man.
Dude, I appreciate that, brother. That means the world to me. This whole show is just like I've shared before. It was just a couple years ago. I just, people kept saying it, and I did it. And now to be past 50 episodes, and now to be basically doing the finale of this show, it's crazy to me to think season like 3 seasons are in the books of this when I was just trying to get one season done. So that's what's been so exciting. And then I'm really hoping with season 4 and just going into 2023, it's just, gets bigger and better. But I want to talk about you, man, and what's been going on. So for people that are listening, Antonio is one of the most talented people I know. I mean, from photography, from video work, from creative images, and then you're a huge horror movie buff and, director and fan. So, let's just start off. How'd you get into all the film and technology? I know you probably answered this a bunch, but
Yeah, no, I think that's such a great question. So my dad passed away in 2009, and I only had like 2 seconds of video of him before he passed,
I'm sorry
and
about
I
your loss.
watched it. Man, thank you, man. He was my hero, and I watched it a million times. And my daughter used to say, "Can you tell me stories about your dad?" Because he came from Peru, and he's got a pretty unique story. My daughter was 2 years old when he passed. Well, she was one. She was turning two. Anyways, I'd say, baby, I think I told you all the stories. And I thought it would be amazing to have like a video of somebody who was maybe terminal or old, and they could tell stories about to their unborn grandchildren and
Yeah.
about their life. and you could put on a DVD, and on the DVD it would have all of these different stories so they could know their grandpa, whatever. So I started to do that. I wanted to do that. And then instead I did weddings. I pivoted a bit, and I realized that like weddings were just as emotional.
Mhm.
And that was literally the best day of somebody's entire life. And I just got infatuated with it, man. So I started doing that. I started telling my own stories, and I started doing photography and stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started, through tragedy, and that
Mhm.
became my why. Um, and then I like the idea got derailed one time when I was meeting with a wedding client, and she said, "Hey, I work at Cosair Children's Hospital, and I'm in the burn victims unit, and these are kids, and it would be really beautiful if you could film them telling their stories." And it scared me. I thought that was something that I didn't want to be callous to ever. That I was like, God, I got to go do this video today, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And it would be heartbreaking. And I think that's something that your heart shouldn't be exposed to too much.
Mhm.
So yeah, man, it was that's kind of what derailed that. But yeah, man, I love doing video, and I'm still super passionate about it, including weddings. People are like, "Man, you do the same thing over and over every weekend," and I'm like, "No, it's actually totally different every
Yeah.
weekend, because everybody's story is different."
And that's what I like about you with comes to weddings. Of course, I've not been married, but it's like you literally are able to get to know the bride and groom. You know their story. You get to know the bridesmaids, the groomsmen, the friends, and you are, you're engaged, and you almost make everybody feel like, hey, we're all homies. We're getting together, and you make it very comfortable. And what I like too is that, you know you doing this every weekend, like you said, you nailed it on the head. It could be repetitive, it could feel repetitive, but I'll give you kudos, man. You bring that energy every time. And so I think that's why people love it. And then if you notice the early weddings that you did with some of my friend groups, all those people just kept booking you as more they got married, like
Yeah.
the more and more and more. And it's just like a big thing. And so if I there was like 1 year there where like 3 people got married, and I think you did them all, and I'm like pumped because I'm like, I'm gonna get to see Antonio. It's gonna be awesome. So it's
Oh,
like, yeah. So you just, dude, you always bring that energy, and just you get everybody engaged. And so you're a people person. You can talk. Do you feel like when you are at weddings, what is some of your biggest challenges that you face? Because I mean, you do everything so well. You gotta. I know that you definitely probably face some challenges. What do you think?
well, thank you so much for saying that, first of all. And secondly, the hard part about weddings is the anxiety of it. So I don't know if I've told you this or not before, but I don't do anything like the week of a wedding. You can't call in for, man. Like once you're in, you are in. My daughter was being born. I was shooting a wedding. My youngest daughter, and my mother died. And then no, it was in 19 minutes after I walked into the wedding. Um, I found out my mother died. I got a phone call from my brother, and she said my mother had passed away, and of an overdose, unfortunately. And you just got to paint on a smile, man. And I had to watch the mother's son dance later that night, knowing I can't get out. There's no way I can't get out of that. So I think, to me, the biggest challenge of all is you can't get out no matter what. You know what I'm saying? At least I
Yeah.
won't. I'm not going to call in, like, knock
Mhm.
on wood, no matter what. I will be there early, no matter what the issue is, man. And I think that might be the difficult part.
Oh, for sure. I bet. And like you just said, dude, that just shows how strong of a human you are. And, kudos to you to be able to get through that, and for your commitment. And, what is a lot of times when these people book these weddings, are they booking it months out? So it's like, is there challenges to booking everybody, or do you feel like, once the calendar hits, it's just knock them out?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's what it is. Like, you don't know what you're gonna do like 2 years from now, or what situation you're gonna be in, or even
Yeah.
if you're gonna want to do it anymore. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
man, you do it and you commit to it. And if you're a person of your word, then dude, it's hard work. So like, I ran like a 60-pound Steadicam rig. So like, I'm running around with this thing all day. You've seen it before. It looks like a bulletproof vest, and people are like, "Man, you look like RoboCop," and this and that. But it's brutal. It's brutal work, and it kills you. And the next day, you're completely worthless. But sometimes you'll do like a double header, and you'll book a second wedding the next day, and it is literally. So I've shot a movie. I've shot short films. I've shot documentaries. but nothing is as brutal on the body as a wedding.
Oh, I bet, dude. I mean, I remember I DJ'd some weddings in college. I got into DJing for a few years, and I would work with three different companies. So I had one guy that would send me to parties. I had one guy that would send me to nightclubs, and it felt like I had all these like little middle booking people, and then I had people that would also like send me out to like random events. And I just remember the weddings, like you said, there was so much passion, so much things going into it, and you got to play the right song, you got to hit the song for the dance. There's certain times when you gotta hit it on the, you're like, I gotta hit this at this time. So a lot of people don't realize it's like, even the bartender pouring a drink, there's so much work going into it, and then at the end, if you go to the wedding, you're like, that was a fucking blast. You don't realize it's like there's like 30 people in there that were giving their all, so you had your blast.
So true, man. So like my buddy, Dusty Lee's a really close friend of mine. He might be getting married soon, right?
Shout to
So he
Dustin.
wants me to be like, oh, he's the greatest guy in the world, but he wants me to be, like one of his groomsmen, maybe his best man. I don't know. He's like my best friend. So he said, I can't have you shoot the wedding, but I really want you, to shoot the wedding. And I said, dude, I have to shoot the wedding because, like that's me giving all of myself to you. That's everything I got in this world, man. I will give you all of me to shoot that wedding, and like, so I don't get invited to many weddings, but also I don't have any Saturdays available. But I got to be a groomsman, and I don't know if you've seen my movie One Must Fall, but Todd Proctor is like he's like my brother,
Yeah.
and he's been my best friend since we were little. But he had me as a groomsman in the wedding, but I still set up cameras, and like it was like early on, and I still like recorded the wedding, obviously. But yeah, I was like, I think you know what? I was Todd's best man. I was Todd's best man. So
Yeah.
I was in his wedding, and he was like, you do not have to shoot, and I was like, I have to document this.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome, dude. I mean, and yeah, Dusty, man, shout out to Dusty. He's doing big things. I actually didn't know much about Dusty until I met you, and I followed him, and he just his music. I'm not big into the country rap, but at the end of the day, I see his grind, his hustle, and where he's gone with his career, and then seeing what he's doing now, and I'm just happy for the guy. I follow him, and like I said, I might not be a fan of the actual music. Not saying it's bad, it's just not my tea. But the energy he brings, I mean, how he's relevant on the other social medias and stuff. I kudos to him, and so it's really cool to see what he does. And I gotta say too, man, like you and him both do so much for this community. I mean, like you just said, giving back. But I know that you've done things like during the holidays and stuff. I think you collab with him on that kind of stuff. And you all, for you all to be best friends, it's kind of perfect, like two peas in a pod. You promote him, he promotes you, and it's like you can't lose there.
Yeah, man, thank you for saying that. And we actually we collaborated today. The video came up, sadly, but today, so we did this music video, and his mother passed away of an overdose recently, and my mother did too. And she battled addiction for a long, long, long time, and they passed the same way, man. And we did a video about it, and he wrote a song about like his childhood growing up to see, like parents who were addicts, and ultimately like their demise, man. And it was it's a really, really, really deep video, but we did it, and it came out tonight actually. But and at the end
Congrats,
of it,
bro.
we
Congrats. That's
thank you,
awesome.
man. It was very personal for both of us, and it had our mother's pictures at the end, like it's when they had passed and stuff, and in loving memory and stuff like that. But yeah, man, he grew up really, really hard. So I think people that do, if they have anything, they love to give it all, man. And it becomes like, like I always say, my mother was an addict, but I'm an addict too. I just chose my addiction to be something more positive,
Mhm.
But yeah, man, I think we're all maybe addicts to something. Maybe it's gaming or some
Mhm.
sort of outlet, whether it's like drinking or having fun or, whatever, man, like, doing work. Some people are work addicts, but we all have that in us. We just have to use it, and harness that for something positive.
Oh yeah, you're 100% right. And at the end of the day, there is a big choice on how to use it and utilize it. And it's so cool to see also I love those come up stories, and I love those stories of people like you have a beautiful story. I love seeing these other stories. Like somebody kind of, I know that he probably is similar music wise to Dusty, Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll's an artist that when I was in college in Nashville back in '08 to like 2012, I had been around Jelly a couple times. I knew people that knew him very well, saw his come up. He was more in the rap and hip hop. And now he's kind of taken off, and he's actually kind of gone more into the country music things. And it's just so cool to see his story because, he spent all this time in jail, prison, the juvenile system growing up. And then it's like he last night, I guess, walked his first red carpet I saw on social media. And it just, even though it's not affecting you, it's just motivating, man. Like somebody who had a rough time for maybe 5 to 10 years turns it around, and now he's living his dream. And it also shows that it's like you can't give up. And even if your energy maybe is going to something shittier, or you're not living up to your where you could be, there's always time. There's definitely not time in some days, but it's like you can make it there. And so it's really cool to see those kind of stories. And that's what I love about your story, because you shared it on many platforms. It's like you got out of, you dropped out of school, you the education, and you come up, and it's just like to be where you're at, dude, you are a success story.
Oh man, that's so kind of you, man. And I've worked with Jelly Roll quite a bit too, man. And he's a really really good guy, I'll say. We've done quite a few music videos together, but I really love him a lot, man. And that song he has, it's called "Somebody Save Me." Dusty sent it to me, and when Jelly finished it, and we both cried, man.
Yeah, it's one of the most beautiful songs just out. And my friend, shout out to Paige, Contrary Cherry, she's a big friend and fan of the show. She went to his show in Pikeville, where he just did it recently here in Kentucky, and it sold out. And when he did the Save Me, I guess there was like fire and the effects in the back, and they said it was just so beautiful. So it's just really cool to see his story. And then it's just cool to see. And then people you collab with, what are some other names? I know that you and I have talked before. I know you worked with Bryson and Dusty, and now you've mentioned Jelly. Who else is kind of that you've worked with? And then to kind of make it a second part question, besides just who people you work with, who are some people that just motivate you, not just in video film work, but just artistry? Like who motivates you?
I work with Jack Harlow. He was great. He was awesome. I did. Bryson is great. I don't know, man. I work with everybody, like anybody and everybody. Sometimes people who are unknown, like, are the best people to work with because they're so hungry, and they believe in themselves so much. And I think that there's a beauty in that, man. When somebody believes in themselves, no matter what. I don't know if you've heard Lana Del Rey's story, but she worked in a soup kitchen when that song "Video Games" came out, man. And that song went on to like blow her up, and that was her 6th album with the same producer, and he stuck by her the whole time. And the video's done really 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 cheaply, probably recorded on a cell phone, but she just believed in herself, man. And I think that seeing people like that, that's really what motivates me. Not the people who are famous. Like, people always, they're like, "Oh, you work with Jack Harlow, blah blah," and I'm like, yeah, but he made it though. Like, there's a million people like who didn't make it, who are just as motivated as him, or just as talented as him, who I got a chance to work with, and nobody may know their name, but they're just as good, honestly, man. And like, he'll admit that too. He'll tell you the same thing, and he's trying to push those people and promote them. And I think what's important is when these people do set a sail and they go on to do great things, it's important for them to send the elevator back down, man, for people who can jump on too and go up, because it's all part of the journey. And those people are just at different stages of the journey. They just need somebody to bring them up. And the sad part is so many people who make it, they won't do it, dude. And that sucks, man, because sometimes all it takes is a tweet or a post or something really really easy. So yeah, man, like, and that's all free stuff, that nobody has to pay for or anything of that nature. And I think that's the hard part with like fame and stuff like that. Now I haven't seen any level of fame. People are always like, "Oh, you're gonna get great exposure if you do this, or you might need this in your portfolio." And I'm like, man, I have shot everything, and like, I shot a video one time for an 11-year-old kid named Brooklyn Queen. I didn't think anything was going to happen from it. And that video has it might have 63 million hits. It's called Emoji.
Oh
And
my
that girl,
God.
yeah, dude, she went on to like, I just wrote like I knew she acted. So I just wrote this like little funny skit and stuff like that. And the guy who got us the location, who's a really good friend now, Kevin Manning, he's an awesome musician too. But anyways, he acted in it. He's never acted in it before. He was amazing. And the video has 63 million hits, you know? So you just never know. You're thinking, oh, this 11-year-old kid, that's not going to be anything. And here it is, you know, 63 million hits later, or whatever it is, 56 million, something of that nature. And she's got a deal with Disney. She's on the new Bratz television show. She hosted like a portion of the VMAs. Like, she's killing it.
Yeah.
So you just don't know. And you've got to treat like Jack Harlow was 17 when I met him, dude. 17. So I brought him to a coffee shop. We met for 3 hours. I talked about his appearance, his look, how we can mold him. We met at Quill's Coffee. And you just don't know, man. Like, somebody else would have slept on him. They would have slept on him. They would have not connected. So I connected him with Bryson Tiller right then and there. He said Bryson Tiller is my idol. And I said, dude, you just don't know what you don't know what you're dealing with. You got to give everybody a fair shake and everybody a chance. And I think that's the thing, man, is that like there's so many people in this life who are elevated above us. There's a guy who has a podcast right now that has 10 million listeners, maybe who you've talked to before. And a tweet would help dramatically get the word out there.
Yeah.
And he won't do it. Why?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's probably, you know, majority of you know, like what concerns me about fame and people that make it. They got to send the elevator back down. And my buddy Lee told me this quote. Maybe it was Dorian Washington, and he said the only time you should be looking down upon somebody is when you're helping them up. And that stuck with me, man.
That's fire. That's like one of the best. That's one of the best quotes I've ever heard. Actually, I'm probably going to start using that, to be honest. So that's awesome. And you know what you just said is perfect. How you described it all, and just you know you just don't know. And you know I'll never forget this. It's like it's so funny how everybody's life is kind of similar sometimes, or everybody's universe kind of all aligns. So like Jack Harlow, for example, I went to Forecastle, and this is probably 3 or whenever What's Poppin' came out. It was like a few months before his big, you know, Lyrical Lemonade song and all that. And I'm like, I see him at Forecastle, and I had like a little Leo pass, and I'm backstage at Playboy Cardi. And this guy's with me, my buddy. I'm not gonna name him, and I had a couple other friends with me. But my buddy's like, "Oh, that's Jack Harlow. He just some wannabe local rapper. Just some hate. This dude was hating." And I looked at him, and I was like, "Bro, that dude's gonna be something. Like, I'm gonna say what's up." And you know me, I ain't afraid to talk to anybody. So I just walked up. I said, "What's up, dude?" We talked about this kid dancing. It was hilarious. And then he was like talking to his girl. So I was like, "All right, man, see ya." And at the end of the day, I was like, you know, shit, it was like a minute. And it's not like I was like, oh my, like I didn't really even know much about him. I just wanted to say hi. But for him just to be as humble as he was, and then that was not even where he's at now, that's pretty fucking dope. And then it's cool too what he's done for the city. And you know, I saw him on the tour he did where he hit all the venues and stuff. And it's just like I think back, and I'm so blessed and thankful for my life and what I've accomplished. But I love it for Jack because it's not only what I kind of maybe what I wanted, like that whole, because I loved hip hop and growing up, but just to see someone do it, I just wanted someone to do it. I wanted that Nappy Roots feel again in Louisville and Kentucky, because when Nappy Roots came out, dude, it was my life in middle school. Loved Nappy. And then it's like now to see Jack kind of doing what they did and get on a platform, it's just cool. And I love seeing local people from Louisville in this area do well. It motivates me.
It's so funny, man, because there's two thought processes. And like you said, man, I can't tell you how many people I told about Jack Harlow who are hating on him, dude. Hating on him. Way before he blew up, I was just like, listen, you got to take a look at this kid. And I think there's another one who's going to blow up soon. Her name's Carly Johnson. I shot a music video for her, and I've been pitching her to everyone who will listen, dude. And she's going to blow up, dude. And nobody's listening to me. I'm not saying I have a special talent. I said the same thing about Bryson Tiller, said the same thing about Dusty Lee. But I work with a lot of people, and you know talent when you see it. But Louisville has this crabs in a bucket mentality. And I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I don't know if you're familiar with the term, but basically if you put Like if there's a fisherman and he's catching a crab, he puts it in a 5-gallon bucket and he continues to put crabs in this 5-gallon bucket. If they work together, they can get out. They can get out. But if one starts to get out, the others will pull it back in. They know they got to get back to the ocean, but they don't even want the one to get out. They don't want them to get out because they don't want one to have more than they have. And that is exactly what happens here in Louisville with artists. And that's why I try to put on like free headshots, free workshops, free anything for artists, because I feel like we can, if united, we will be so strong. But I feel like I'm alone in that, man. I mean, granted, I'm not going to say I'm alone in that. There's a lot of people who feel that way too. It's just the unity is just not there, man. And that's sad.
It's very sad because you nailed that on bringing that up, because I actually had a guest, not on this season, but last season, Austin Rich. He's a friend of mine. He does stand-up comedy, and he's lived in Chicago, but he was big down here, and he has done a lot. He's been viral. Had a couple World Star videos. He's done well, but he also feels like, which I think everybody does when you're in that artistry, that he should be bigger than where he's at, or it should be more recognized. And his biggest thing with Louisville that he always brings up and that he brought on his episode is that he just feels like there's not enough support system here. And it's not enough, like, yeah, people can make it clearly, but it's like there's not enough people like rooting, sharing, but they'll, like you said, they'll go share, I'm making it up, Ragu makes an ad with a celebrity, makes an ad with, I don't know, Jay-Z. Everybody shares it. It's some comedy, but then it's like me, you, and somebody else here locally makes a little small video, and he doesn't have Jay-Z in it, but it's funny. It's like it doesn't get, and so I get it. There's certain levels of fame, but you nailed it. And I actually didn't know that's why Crabs in the Bucket was that. So that's mind blowing. But it's one of these cases where people just can't, like, I don't know if it's jealousy or it's just like, but it's just a share. It's literally just a click. Like, a share is the most minimal work of all time.
Right. It takes literally nothing, man. And like if your friend has a business or something and it takes you nothing to promote that business that way, man. And it's just really sad that, that's what it is. And like you said, man, they'll share a celebrity's thing, and but not their best friend in the whole world. I've even had people who worked on my movie who didn't share any part of it, dude. No, and like it was killing it on the film festival circuit. We were winning awards. Yeah. And they wouldn't even share it. Like, were they proud even? Like, as proud as me? Like, I was so proud to share any accolades that we got from it. And they helped build that. But even them, they wouldn't even share it, man. I thought that was so weird. The arts community is really strange, man.
It is. And the thing with Leo Weekly that, I used to almost get in trouble with work or other reps would be like, why are you doing all this? Dude, at Leo, I went from having one client when I started on day one, and I ended with 212 clients. And I would say out of probably 60 of those 212 clients, I didn't get a single fucking buck out of them. I was doing sponsorship, charity. I go out, do events. I did so much work free because at the end of the day, I not only wanted to be a pillar for my community, but I wanted to help people, and I'd hear people's stories. Like, I remember a woman coming up to one of my Leo booths at like a Humane Society event, and she's like, I did like one ad for her, but she just wanted to raise some money because some kid in this class got sick and they were going to auction off a pig. It's out in the country, all this crazy stuff. And I was like, and I don't think anyone probably would even give her the time of day. And I said, you know what? I'm going to run an ad for you, and what I would do is I just tell my boss, like, hey, we'll get some out of it. We'll get some promotion. But at the end of the day, that's really what I was trying to do, is just help people, because I'm really good about putting myself in other people's shoes. And I want people to do the same for me. And you said just here a few minutes ago, you're talking about how you've said all these people and you offer free headshots, you offer all this stuff. There's three people in this community that I kind of look up to from a business standpoint and building a brand. Number one, it's you. I think that, I've always looked up to you and just what you've done. Tony Thomas, that created Rec Bar. A good friend, former client. I love his hustle. I love what he's done in this community and built his brand. And then I would just say, like, the third person overall that I could really say is, I've looked up to, the a lot of people that work at the Humane Society, and seeing what they've done for that, and seeing how it's grown. And my friend Andrea, she's trying to be a director. It's just a lot of good stuff. So I really like to see I love being the supporter of those people, but there's so many other people that are hungry too, trying to build their brand, and I'm all for it. And that's just kind of what's got me here today.
Man, thank you, man. That's so awesome of you to say. But yeah, there's some, and I love Tony too, man. Like I look up to him as well. He's amazing. He's a really close friend of mine, and I watched his journey
Mm-hmm.
unfold. And man, it couldn't happen to a better person, man, because he's killing it. But he sacrifices so much, man, to do everything he does, and he's so kind to everyone. And believe it or not, man, he could really fuck somebody up if he wanted to, because he used to be a pro
Oh,
fighter, and he was a badass, man.
yeah, dude. He's cool as shit. I've heard so many stories because I was the 4th Street Live rep for Budweiser for a few years, and all him and his boy, Brad Jeffrey, all those guys, Andrew. I was close to all those guys, and they tell me some of the funniest fucking stories from back in the day. But yeah, I saw Tony's come up too, from all the doing orders with him at Sports and Social, to him open up Rec Bar. I still do notaries for him. I've gone out to his house for some football games, and I'm not even a Colts fan. I showed up one day for a Colts game. I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'm out there shooting basketball with his kids, having fun. He's just always been good to me, and he's a good dude. So I love what he's doing. I love what you're doing. And like I said, I had to give a shout out to the Humane Society because I like what they're doing local. But yeah, it just overall, this community needs people like you, man. Because and so it's awesome what you're doing, and if you keep doing that shit, you're gonna keep getting what you're getting. And then, man, dude, in my opinion, you're doing great.
Man, thank you so much, man. I'm gonna really try to go hard, really soon, man. I've got nothing holding me back, man. And I had a heart attack about 3 months ago and almost died. So that changed everything for me. And I picked up Stoic philosophy while I was in the hospital, and it changed my life, man. It basically is the philosophy is it's memento mori, which is Latin for tomorrow is not promised, and it said, let every thought, every decision, the way that you treat people, be that of a dying person. Pretend as if you died and come back to life, or you only have a year left to live. Would this thing bother you, or would you change your decisions based on you living only 1 year left? And it changed my entire perspective on life, man. Laying in a hospital bed thinking of those things. So yeah, man. Now that I know that, and I might only have a year, and only right now, right here, right now, are we promised this moment. We are not promised anything else outside of this. So I'm going to try to maximize that and do my best and do good work for people, and help people, man. I'm
Yeah.
addicted to that.
I love it, man. I love it, and that's why I love you, dude. And I, we're gonna do part 2. We're gonna dive into your heart attack and some of the just more about your life. But something I want to kind of touch on, you brought up the Latin and stuff. I never knew much about Latin. I saw Mac Miller's video, Self Care, where he's in the coffin and he's carving out like a Latin phrase in the thing, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it just was kind of powerful. And then you kind of realize, like, even in languages, there's so many like hidden messages and things that like we can be motivated from. And it's really cool too how like phrases can be motivating so many years later, or you can put it in perspective for your own life. And so yeah, it really is. And I'm similar to you, man. I pray to God I don't have a heart attack tomorrow or nothing, but I try to stay out of there. I try to live life to the fullest, but at the end of the day, I understand nothing's promised. And I think that's where about 5 years ago, I took a look in the mirror and I said, I could do everything I can in this world. I could make $1 million one day. I could fucking jump off a building and skydive. But at the end of the day, I want to leave a legacy on this planet. And I know this planet might not be here forever, but at the end of the day, it don't matter. We're all here for a reason, and I want to leave a legacy. Not only that, like if I died tomorrow, I want people to be like, hey, he was always grinding, doing stuff, like he did this and that. That's cool. I like that. But my biggest legacy I want to be like is like, I fuck with that dude. That dude was cool as shit. He kept it real. He was a good person. And if you live that way and you could deal with so much shit too, you really can get through anything. And that's really how I get through any tribulous bullshit I go through, because it's like, I just try to think to myself, this sucks, but my past was fun, and I think I've left an impact. And it's not a morbid way of thinking. Like, I want to keep building my legacy. I want to keep, but I just think about it from the standpoint, nothing's promised and it could change, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%, man.
Yeah. And it's
You
like
know,
some of the
but
most powerful thing to think that way.
yeah, I think so too, man. Like, so, and that's awesome to have like an end goal, because, you know, what's so funny about life is that, you know, we treat like time as if we're immortal, you know, but we go through life like we're mortals. We're very careful about how we drive, about everything, but we neglect time, you know, and time is the only thing that is not promised, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we treat it as if, you know, we have unlimited amount of it. So so it's good. I think it's good to think of a legacy, you know, and there's no reason to be in a hurry, you know, for that. And I think that, like, you know, we have to enjoy the journey. There is no finish line, you know. And I think that that's part of like enjoying life, is like, yes, it's great to have goals, but you have to enjoy. The goal should be the journey to get to the goal, not the touchdown itself,
Mm.
you know, but the play. You know what I'm saying? Like, they say that like a runner who's in love with running will run much further than a runner who is just, you know, concerned with getting to the goal, the finish line, because the run will stop then. And I think if you're like in love with life, you know, which we all are, I think that there's no hurry to get to the finish line, because then what happens? You die, right?
Yeah.
So I think part of it is just enjoying the journey, you know, and setting those like really great goals in life, but making sure that we fall in love with the life itself instead of like, you know, that goal. You know, because you can become a really great person on the way to that goal. You know, whether it's leaving a legacy, you're going to become a great person by default, because that is the end goal. You
Yeah.
know, but we just, I think that we just shouldn't be in such a rush to get to it. You know what I'm saying? Because you
Yeah.
develop so much as a human being on the way to getting there. You
Mm.
know?
And I think you're 100% right that I think the biggest challenge for everybody, like you said, even if you're not there at the point, or even if you don't think you're ever going to reach that point, it's about the journey, and it's about enjoying the journey. And at the end of the day, the key word is just trying. You know, it's like, just keep trying, like keep trying, keep pushing, and you know, as long as you can pull some enjoyment while doing it, even if it could be challenging to whatever you're working towards, it's like you're still leaving an impact, you know, at the end of the day. And so,
Yeah.
but everybody, this was part one of Vibing with Sleazy, the podcast, season 3, episode 20 with Antonio Pantoja. And we are going to be coming back for part 2. Part 2 will come out a few days after this, which will be the big finale. So you'll hear that, of course, in the intro of part 2. But I can't thank Antonio enough. So, Antonio, even though we're coming back for part 2, real quick, for part 1 listeners, tell them how they could reach out or just connect.
Oh man, don't reach out to me. Reach out to Eric Clark. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast and leave a review, because if you don't leave a review, then he won't get higher in the algorithm. So even if you just put an X as your comment, leave a review, leave it 5 stars so we can make sure he gets more visibility. Do not follow me. Go leave a review.
I love you, bro. All right. So Vibing with Sleazy, gmail.com, Vibing with Sleazy, the Facebook, on Instagram, Facebook, basically Spotify, Apple, any platform, listen to it. Right now we're about over 32 platforms. So just thank you all for downloading, listening, and stay tuned for part 2. Tune into the other seasons, and we'll be back. Peace.